Salutations everybody, it is Matty here today. I hope all of you are doing absolutely fantastic. Finally, we're delivering the guides. These are 15 things I wish I knew before playing Starfield. Given it's a brand new IP and we're just a few short days away from being out of early access and into the full release of the game, I wanted to drop these tips for those of you who are patiently waiting with just 70 bucks in your hands, or maybe you didn't have the time to, and let you know the ins and outs of this game without spoiling anything. Just things to keep a lookout for, things to make your experience a lot easier, because Starfield's a brand new IP. One of the early mistakes I made with this game was playing it kind of like Fallout and Elder Scrolls and feeling it out that way and realizing so many things were different. And it's funny, with a game with so many tutorials, you'd think you'd be all covered, but there's actually a lot of secrets tucked beneath the surface of Starfield, and I hope to bring those to light here today, even if you just learned a couple of things and you're a vet of Starfield already. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new here and you're into Starfield news, information, conversations, guides, tips, tricks, all that fun stuff, you're in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's begin with number 1. Use that scanner, y'all. Use it to identify lootable objects and even a path to your objective. If I can make one comparison to what your scanner is going to be, think of it like clairvoyance in Skyrim, right? Remember, you'd cast that spell and then you'd see the pathway to your objective. Starfield doesn't have the best maps, so using your scanner to locate where your objective is will be very helpful. Just look at the ground and see where the arrows are pointing. But the scanner for lootable objects is also really important, because I was so used to Fallout and Elder Scrolls where I'm like, I know what I can loot, what I can't loot. I've seen this game a million times. But when you step into one of the interiors of Starfield, it can be a little overwhelming. What's valuable? What's not valuable? The scanner is going to give you data on all the objects, whether or not they're craftable, which we'll get into in a little bit. But use that scanner to identify what you can pick up and where to go. Number 2, don't be too overly particular about what you need for researching a project. So in Starfield, there are research stations that you can use, and these are how you pretty much unlock crafting new things like scopes for your weapons, all the way down to new things for your settlements. Well, you don't have to get all the time exactly what you need to research. You see, what'll happen sometimes is when you submit a lot of items for one particular project, the research will carry over into other parts of that same project, thus saving you lots of time and assets. Basically, don't wait until you have exactly enough, because the game actually may gift you the full research. I don't know why it works this way. There are actually perks that you can get under the research tab that will increase the chance of this and let you get a little bit more out of your research. But this is something that I was originally just waiting until I had exactly enough resources. And I figured, you know what? I'm filling up my inventory too much. I'm becoming encumbered, which is a big problem with the game. How can I navigate this a little better? So I started spending these resources and actually completing projects, even though I didn't have enough for them. Number 3 is about inventory management again. I know you're going to get sick of me with this, but it's important you know this, because Starfield maybe isn't as bad as how Fallout 76 was in its beginning days, but you're going to be over encumbered a lot. So here's one way I found out how to navigate this. Make the most use of your ship's storage space. The reason I say that, it was beyond the obvious, but it's also because this is where you want most of your resources going for crafting, for research, because it's shared across all stations no matter where you are. Now, there are perks and upgrades you can get for your outposts that allow you to share resources, but if you're looking for what I would call the more free way to do it, this is a good way of going about it. Not only that, but you have access to all your stuff at any given time. Now, it goes without saying with inventory management that you should also lean into your companions a bit and dish them a few items, but that's just more of like a bonus tip on top of everything else we're talking about. Really just make sure you use your ship's storage. That is going to be the best place for you, and upgrade the cargo. Even if your ship looks like a monstrosity, just upgrade it, upgrade it, upgrade it. You'll thank me later when you're not always running around losing stamina because you're always encumbered. Number 4, I realized this one I'm a little too late. There are a lot of quest targets in Starfield that like to walk, and they walk way slower than you, even when you're slowly trying to immersively walk, tilting that left analog stick ever so slightly forward. Not enough. You still go faster than them. You can run, and they'll run with you. Now, if you don't want to rush the conversation, of course, walk with them, but once they're quiet, run, and they're going to run and follow you. You may have to kind of stop and wait and see where they're going, but this can let you speed things up sometimes if you don't want to walk with quest givers. Number 5, this goes with the looting stuff. Look out for skill magazines. Think of this a lot like Fallout, where you'd find little upgrades for your character build. These are permanent upgrades that you'll find in particular environments. Now, these will also be in procedurally generated ones, so it's not just exclusive to places with hand-placed loot, but keep an eye out for these because they're really good, such as beefing up companion perks or even your own, and all the way into storage space and CO2 usage. Just so much is there. Do not overlook these. Keep an eye out for them. Number 6, this is going to save you a favorite weapon slot. At least it saved me one. I'm not sure if people already know about this, but hey, we're going to do it anyway. So the cutter. This is a really important tool that you're going to use to mine, whether it be the artifacts or resources across planets to continue crafting and researching stuff to continue crafting even more. So you don't need to put this in a favorite slot to equip it. You can just open your scanner, look around, find the thing you want to mine, and hit the right trigger. It will pull out your cutter right away. You do not need to always have it favorited. So you can save that slot for all of your favorite weapons and instead take out your cutter this way anytime you want to mine a particular resource. Number 7, this one was in Fallout 4, but a lot of people didn't know about it, so I'm going to make it known now. You can lean while shooting in Starfield. Now, it's not automatic that you could stand in the middle of the room and go back and forth. What you have to do is press yourself up against the wall, and you'll see the weapon kind of tuck up next to your head. And then when you click the left trigger or whatever the aim button is for you, you're going to lean over past that cover. So this is a good way of taking cover in Starfield. You can also do it while crouching. So this is a feature that's been in previous BGS games. It may not be a brand new one for you, but in case you weren't aware of it, this is something that's been carried over into Starfield. Speaking of Fallout 4, let's stick with that as a topic, shall we? So yeah, you know in Fallout 4 how you just wanted to loot every single thing in sight? In Starfield, I carried over that really bad habit, and it was a bad idea. Not only was I actually loading up my inventory an unnecessary amount, but I also wasn't paying close attention to what I was talking about earlier in this video, item descriptions. One of the cool things about Starfield is when you're hovering over an item, it'll tell you if it's a crafting item. There's no guesswork of like, does this one have screws? Does this one have springs? I can't quite remember. You don't have to worry about any of that with Starfield. If you look at an item, it'll tell you this is a common crafting component. This is an exotic crafting component. It won't tell you what it's for, but it'll at least let you know it's a crafting item. So if you're just looking for that, then pick those up. Meanwhile, if it's something that you can pick up and sell, it'll just give you the weight and the value of the item. That doesn't mean you snooze on the other items, because there are things you can pick up in the environment that are really expensive. So keep an eye out for old world antiques from Earth. Those ones in particular are kind of expensive, but over time you'll become so rich you'll just skip over that stuff and look at crafting stuff only. With that, I want to get back into mining for number 9. So in Starfield, when you're mining particular rocks, some take way longer than others, right? Well, there's a little trick to shorten your mining time. If you hold the left trigger, you're going to see this really red kind of triangle start shrinking down. Once it's shrunken down all the way, mine. Go ahead, hit that right trigger, and you're going to be surprised how quickly it's all done with. So if you want to speed up the mining time, this is a good way of doing so. And some rocks even demand this, but the game kind of doesn't tell you that. Now, when you're mining on these planets, you may want to know, what can I mine? What can I mine? And when you do scan certain things on the planet, there's a color pattern that tells you what's been scanned and what has yet to be scanned. So if you're roaming the planet for my 9th tip in this video, you will see that some items are blue, which typically means that it's not a registered resource. And once you press A over it, it'll be scanned and turn a different color. So look for blue if you want that 100% planet data. So whether it be plants, animals, mining resources, all that fun stuff, that's what you want to make sure the color you're looking out for. And it'll make a little bit of your sprinting around the planet easier. You also have to sometimes go up into space and land somewhere else. Number 11, perks stacked with named followers. Yes, this means even like a random laser weapon specialist in Neon. Like you might actually want to invite them onto your ship because those perks will stack with your perks and it'll be really helpful. Like for example, I found someone who just had a really good boost in shields, and most of my deaths in Starfield came from being in space combat and certainly struggling a little bit with my weak little ship and having to do some tinkering, but with a little bit of a shield buff for my companions and even named followers, like the ones who are just kind of off to the side, don't have much of a story, they still have value in your crew and in your settlement. So make sure you don't sleep on those perks they have. Number 12, so you found some contraband. You saw an item, you picked it up, it's got a high value, you go to sell it to someone because you smuggled it onto a planet. Wait, where is it? Well, only certain vendors will buy Contraband. And what you have to be on the lookout for is not only who will buy it, but how many credits they have. That goes for selling anywhere. Where I typically go is the Trade Authority. You kind of just have to accept that the Trade Authority is gonna not be able to fulfill your needs on a monetary level. However, what you should also keep in mind with Contraband is that this is one of the few places that will buy it. The Trade Authority, they're just them dudes. They're willing to help you out even if you're breaking the law, because they're gonna buy low and sell high. You'll find the Trade Authority everywhere from Sidonia to the Den in the Wolf system. There's kiosks. There's tons of places to trade with them. They're even on Neon. You can find them everywhere. Number 13 is a really important one if you're going into Starfield almost entirely blind and you're trying to figure out how to navigate the content in the game. The way you find quests in this game are by listening. So if you hear two NPCs talking and the subtitles are popping up, you might want to stop right there and just listen, because eventually an activity will be added to your quest log, and that'll lead you typically down a side quest chain, which is some of the game's best content. It's not like Fallout or Elder Scrolls where you're gonna stumble into a building and find a quest or an NPC in there. Well, yeah, you'll find that from time to time in Starfield. The main driver of the content are the conversations. So if you see someone with a name, go talk to them, ask them questions. You might find yourself a quest. You have to find content that way rather than stumbling into it. Number 14, shipbuilding is pretty intimidating in Starfield, and there are some moments you'll pop out some items that you want to put on your ship and you're like, oh boy, does that fit or not? Well, when shipbuilding in Starfield, you can actually highlight the parts to see if they connect to one another instead of selecting them, dropping them into the blueprint, and looking around the ship to see where they plug in. Just look for these kind of blue auras, and if you drop an item in or have it selected, if you don't see that blue aura, it's not going to connect anywhere. Now, you can also flip the items, but this is one way of doing some shipbuilding and streamlining the process without having to place items, delete them, replace them, and doing a ton of tedious menu navigation. Number 15, my last tip for you, actually came from a buddy when I was reviewing the game, because when I was roaming around, I just couldn't stand that no matter where I was wearing my spacesuit and my helmet. I was like, I see all these cool outfits people are wearing. I don't feel like I'm blending in. I don't like this at all. If you go into your inventory and you go into your armor and hit RB, you can actually hide your spacesuits in settlements. You can hide your helmets in breathable areas. So if you want to see more of your character or more of the outfits you picked up, this is how you do so. I don't know if this was an obvious one or not, but since I went like 50 hours without it, I'm going to assume that some people may have missed it. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, those are 15 things I wish I knew before starting Starfield. Hopefully it makes your journey into the stars a little bit smoother than mine. With that, I'm really looking forward to hearing your tips down below. Certainly, I'm not the only one with ideas here, so fire away. And with that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the heck out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.